everybody, and welcome to another episode of And Just Like That, We Found Therapy. I have with me today Archie Kennedy, who is the son of Christina Kennedy, who was just with us a few episodes ago. How are you, Archie?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for coming on. I also have Christina within the vicinity because we're going to ask her for some input, so she'll scream from the patio, but I'll translate that back into the microphone. Today we're here to discuss Season 2, Episode 13 of Sex and the City, Games People Play. This episode is all about games, sports, table games, games we play in relationships. So my first question is, Archie, did you grow up knowing about this show?
I knew about the show, but I'd never watched an episode, or really I never knew anyone that had watched it, but I'd heard the names and references.
How old are you? Remind us again.
21.
21. And what did you think about the episode?
It was good, it was funny. I definitely thought it was really comical.
Do you feel like it's aged alright, or were you like, whoa, I can't believe they said that?
No, I did. I think it aged well. I could see myself watching the show. I'm definitely intrigued.
Okay. But basically this is one of the most epic episodes in the show because it's also part of the reason why I started this podcast, which is when Samantha says back to Carrie, well, we can't be your advice givers because it's like the blind leading the blind. You need a therapist. And that's how the episode opens. Carrie keeps yapping and yapping and yapping about her ex who she just broke up with, Mr. Big, who Archie doesn't know, but we'll get to that. And she keeps telling all her girlfriends one by one how much he's gonna miss her, how much better she was, how much better she is without him. Have you ever had a friend that would not stop talking about their ex?
Definitely, yeah.
What's your take on people who kind of like fixate on that after they've broken up?
Well, I don't know, it's interesting. I'm obviously thinking from a guy's perspective. I think I've been with guy mates and we've all said the same thing about a partner that one of our girl mates has had. And we've said all the red flags, we've said all our opinions, and everything sort of goes straight over. She doesn't listen, doesn't take it in. And then 6 months later, a year later, everything that we were saying, she is then exactly saying he did this to me and that happened and I didn't like when that happened.
So, and then do you think like they get stuck on that thing? And it's like, but like, how did you see it? And like, because I sometimes do fixate on some things and I was like, but what did you think that was about? And like, and I feel when I am stuck talking about an ex too much, I'm not over it. Mm-hmm. Do you agree? Do you think that if you get stuck talking about them, you're not over them?
I think definitely, yeah. I think anything takes time to process, especially when you build this idea of someone in your mind that they are meant to be this particular person in your mind, even though your friends tell you the opposite. You're so fixated on this idea that even when he does everything that your friends warned you about, you still can't believe it and you're still in shock. And I've had that with friends before where we have listed out X, Y, Z about someone and they totally ignore it and then they act shocked.
Yes.
6 months later they've done exactly those things.
I could be one of those friends. Okay, then Carrie gets referred to a therapist that apparently is like a celebrity to the stars, and like Gwyneth Paltrow goes to her because she suffers from high self-esteem. And I'm very curious to think what you think of how they portray therapy, therapists, and also patients of therapy. Mm-hmm. What was your take from this?
I think it was quite funny, the friend that had the 3 therapists.
Yes, that's Stanford.
I find it quite funny because to me the idea of therapy is to not need therapy at some point.
Yeah.
Right? The whole point of therapy is to get yourself to a position where you no longer need therapy. Yet he talks about having therapists for different reasons and when he wants sort of different feedback, etc.
Yeah.
I don't know, I found that very funny.
That's interesting though, because like obviously I think that was probably 1999 or early 2000s, and we've come a long way. I don't think there's such a taboo about therapy anymore, but I have a lot of friends that have different therapists at the same time. And like one of them will do EMDR and the other one will do like behavioral therapy. Christina, feel free to chime in. BT, what is behavioral therapy? What?
CBT.
CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And like you have a specialist per thing, but one of them is supposed to be very particular. So I do still know people that have several therapists, and many people think that is like not a crutch for life, but like something that will help you have different tools in your toolbox and will keep it for life. Do you go to therapy or do you?
I don't know, touch wood, I don't go to therapy.
Touch wood!
He has a mother.
Yeah, because obviously his mother, yeah. But they do say, at least in Spain, that, you know, in the house of a knife sharpener, you have like a blunt bread knife. So we'll see. Although I have to say Archie is a very mature, well-regulated kid. Christina, well done. But besides this, Carrie has her first session with the therapist, and it is a bit, I was very shocked to see how much they painted the therapist as a bit of a cold bitch, I'm sorry. Because she was very kind of like, okay, why are you here? And then Carrie's also having a lot of issues being there because she thinks like only crazy people go to therapy, etc. But they get to the crux of it, like, why are you here? My friends cannot stop me about talking about my ex anymore. And then she asks her, like, do you think you often choose the wrong man? And she's like, yeah, well, who hasn't? And then she was like, well, you're the common denominator. And here I want Christina to chime in. Would you ever say that to a client? Would you ever say to a client, you choose the wrong man and that's all on you?
Well, here's to the client-therapist relationship that's just gone out of the window in 2 seconds. And where's the sort of safety and grounding for any client relationship with their therapist in terms of feeling safe? So I think that that is probably how not to be with your clients.
Okay, so she was a cold bitch.
She was, yeah.
And judgy.
And judgy. And projecting. I'm so interested in you know that comment, because a therapist would rarely say something like that without there being something behind it themselves.
Okay, so the expert has spoken. We shouldn't be hearing that from therapists. Thank you, Christine.
No.
But then the girls are kind of like unpacking this session as they're walking down the street in New York, and Carrie says, well, she got me all wrong. She thinks I was a game player. And that was all him. That's not me. And she paints herself as a victim. And then Charlotte says, well, of course you're playing games. Even if you're in a happy relationship, you need to play games. What do you think about that?
I think that's quite a dangerous way to look at sort of relationships and view relationships. When you view having a connection with someone as sort of a negotiation, I think things are bound to go wrong. I mean, I have so many friends that spend hours talking to people they like, trying to convince that person that they like them less than that person likes them.
Yes.
Yeah, we have this culture recently of people who don't open up necessarily in early stages of a relationship. People hold back to protect their ego. And I don't think you're ever going to find love or a strong relationship if you're always holding back, always trying to play something.
You saying that gives me hope, but that has been going on forever. Because I feel like they put some clips of people chiming in and saying like, okay, well, I went out with this man and then he didn't call me until like Thursday, so I screened his call and I didn't call him back until Monday. Have you ever done that?
I have. As I think anyone has. Obviously I was younger and I learned my lessons, but I think you act differently for different reasons, right? If you're not looking for something serious, if you're not looking for something meaningful, then I think it's very common, very normal to play games. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that, as long as the other person wants the same.
Have you ever liked somebody more because they were harder to get? Because I think that's the ultimate dating game, which is playing hard to get.
Definitely, yeah, I think so. I mean, laws of supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
It's no fun if you can get anything you want easily or within a second.
Yeah. So you're in a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand, it was pretty straightforward with you guys, or was this some kind of like pull and push at the beginning? Do you think you engaged in any games whatsoever before you decided you were committed to each other?
I mean, I was probably first time in my life very open.
Okay.
I mean, apart from the first 10 seconds of meeting her,
Yeah.
and I knew exactly. So I met her at a university society pub
Yeah.
night, and I was the last one there. I was about half an hour late, and all the girls were sat on one side and the guys were sat on the other side. It was sort of preschool, and I knew immediately I wanted her. So obviously my immediate instinct was to look at everyone but her and avoid eye contact and try to gain her interest somehow. And then after the third or fourth time that we kind of hung out, I let it slip. I was saying something about, I can't believe I'm gonna have to tell my friends that blah 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 about my girlfriend, and I wasn't even thinking about it. But she immediately went, "Oh my God, he said girlfriend. He's already thinking about that."
Yeah.
And I think that was one thing that, in one way, I accidentally sort of reassured her.
Yes.
That it wasn't just some short-term fling, that I had serious intentions.
And she went, like, loved it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she tried to hide it. She didn't do a very good job. But
Do you think that men are more prone to playing games than women?
I think women definitely play more games than men.
Interesting.
I think often they're seen as the prize. They're seen as what the man is chasing after.
Yes.
Right? A lot of the time, women are the ones that are holding the power.
Yeah.
So I think they're the ones that have more cards to play the games.
Interesting. Okay, so all the more power to us. Okay, then I think they all go into a sports bar, and it's because it's sports night, the girls drink for free, and then they're talking about, you know, the games in sports, etc. And of course Samantha, who you don't know, but she's like the fun one in the group that is like very promiscuous, never gets hurt, finds a guy, ends up sleeping with him. Would you say that a sports bar is a place where you would be like, hey, let's go to watch, I don't know, a rugby game? The thing is that here it's the pub, and here you do meet girls at the pub. But would you say like something like a mega guys setting is like an appropriate setting for a woman to look for a man, like a rugby match being aired on a pub, or going to Twickenham, which is a rugby stadium?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a difficult one because, you know, when it comes for, if you're talking about meeting the right person, if you're talking about something serious and long term, then there is no right or wrong place really. You can bump into anyone, anywhere, anytime.
You are your mother's son. Yes, that's a good answer. Okay, then I think we also get introduced to Bon Jovi. Please tell me you know who Bon Jovi is.
My mum has told me, yes.
But he's a legend. He still looks kind of alright, and I actually think you should know him because his son married 11 from Stranger Things.
Hey, you're kidding?
Yeah,
No way.
full circle. I can always bring it back to younger generations. Bon Jovi is the patient that goes before her in therapy, and they have this kind of like things where like he comes out and they say hello, and Carrie starts dressing better and better to go to therapy, which again I feel like the therapist shames her. Did you catch that, Christina?
In which bit?
So because Bon Jovi and Carrie are having like their little meet cutes right before Carrie's session, and she keeps dressing better and better.
Oh, yeah.
The first time she does, the therapist is like, "Oh, you dressed up." Did you find it a bit kind of like passive aggressive, or is it just me?
I think that doesn't even need an answer. It's hilarious. The whole thing is hilarious. But I don't think that therapist would have much of a license left if she continued that way in the UK.
No. Okay, so she was passive aggressive. Maybe she liked Bon Jovi. Who wouldn't?
Well, who wouldn't exactly?
Yeah. But then Carrie and Bon Jovi exchange numbers, they go on a couple of dates. And because the whole theme of the episode is games, in her voiceover, the first time they go out on a date, Carrie is like, in the spirit of breaking my pattern and like using my therapy, I decided not to play any games and tell him how I felt. And she says, I like you. How would you feel as a guy if maybe a woman was a bit more forward? And you asked her out and you're just like testing the waters, but she's like, hey, I like you.
I think it depends on how much you like them back, because it's very difficult, you know, on the first date. They've had an interaction twice, for probably less than a minute.
Yes.
And they're meeting for the first time. So if that was me, I'd probably be a bit like, whoa, it's a bit soon, it's a bit much.
Okay.
But if it was on a second or third date, if I really liked the person back and they were upfront and honest with me, then I'd feel super happy and secure with that, and I would be just as open with them.
Okay.
I would love if a girl did that, if I really liked her.
Okay, good to know. Then another storyline in this episode is Miranda. She's having a bit of like a flirty relationship with her neighbor from across the road. And they keep having this kind of like waving at each other. Then they start playing peekaboo, showing bits and bobs. Have you ever kind of had that meet cute where like you keep bumping into the same person and eventually you start waving and then you start saying hello and then you start saying how are you, or no?
Yeah, I mean I have, in a way. My current girlfriend, we obviously bumped into each other randomly at that pub social society, and then she was on the same course as me, so we would bump into each other for a few seconds in the hallway, and then as well it was the Scandinavian society that we joined, so we had a lot of mutual friends, so we'd end up going to other nights, go to the pub or whatever, and then of course we'd keep bumping into each other that way.
Do you think that your generation is now like maybe 90% meeting more online through apps, or there's still that wish to preferably meet people organically?
I think there's definitely a wish to meet people organically. I don't think many people enjoy online dating. I think a lot of people use online dating for that sort of dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And everyone downloads Tinder for one reason, and it's not to find the person you're going to marry.
Yeah.
I think very few people are looking for anything meaningful in online dating apps. I definitely think there's a huge drive for these new ways of socially interacting with people. There's this really cool new app called Double Dating.
Okay.
Which you can add all your friends on, and the way it works is that you match with people and your friends match with people, and
you
it
go
will
on
connect
double
to
dates?
mutual friends. Exactly.
That is so cool.
So you get to go out with your best mate, she gets to go out with her girl mate, and you guys can go to a bar or whatever, you can do anything. And I think that's such a cool idea.
That is a cool idea.
I know they're just bringing it to the UK and they're doing this whole events tab, and I think that will be super successful.
Okay, you heard it here first. Double is coming to the UK. Okay. Then to wrap the episode up, I think Carrie and Bon Jovi are having another date. Carrie invites him back to her place. They're playing Twister, and they end up sleeping together. And Carrie is trying to, I guess, bond even more with somebody with whom she just had sex, and says, okay, now tell me, what is really wrong with you? Why are you going to therapy? And he says, oh, I completely lose interest after having sex with a woman. What about you? And she says, I choose the wrong man. And then she turns around and it's like so sad. What did you think of this? Did you think it was like the plot was too heavy-handed, or have you seen maybe some of your friends that, not because they want to, they always kind of fall into that losing interest after maybe having sex with a girl, and they're just like after the next dopamine hit?
I think that scene was hilariously written. I think that was written so well. I think that was just combination of really unlucky for her.
Yeah.
And obviously for him, he hadn't quite processed what he needed to in therapy.
Yes.
So I don't think he really should be out seeking, if that is what he's trying to overcome, is losing attraction afterwards, then I don't think he should be actively looking for new connections until he's processed that. And then, sorry, what did you ask after that?
Have you had any friends that have that like immediately after they sleep with a woman, they're like, okay, I got the validation that I wanted, I like on to the next?
Yeah, definitely. I know a few people like that, both girls and boys, definitely.
Huh. What do you think is behind that? Is it just that they need a challenge, and as soon as they get that validation, they're like done because they're chasing something that probably is within them and not?
I think there's so many different factors. Some people, it can be, you know, they've got low self-esteem and they need that confidence boost. They need that, they have that need to feel wanted or loved or desirable or whatever. You've got other people that can't commit because they've been burnt previously. They've been burnt so hard at someone, as crazy as it sounds, at 19, 20, they think they're going to marry, they're totally in love.
I've been there.
Yeah, I know many friends like that, all for different reasons.
Okay. And basically the moral of the story is that Carrie stops going to therapy because she couldn't risk running into Bon Jovi again. Do you think that was like the right morale of the story? Like she was, I'm gonna stop therapy and my friends understand.
I feel like that's the classic, especially nowadays, people give up too easily. I feel like people really have much less drive than they used to do anything, and I'm not surprised when you have, you know, on your phone you can order food to your house in half an hour, you can get caught scrolling on TikTok, Instagram Reels for an hour or 2 hours and it feels like a couple of minutes. I think we have this society where you have so many instant gratification factors, all these easy, simple dopamine hits. I can understand why.
Interesting. Okay, now on to the last bit of this episode, which is like pieces of advice for each one of the girls. So for Carrie, if she was your girlfriend, how would you try to help her get over her breakup with Mr. Big, who she was like besotted with? And what homework do you think she should focus on in therapy?
I think she should focus on in therapy why she is constantly attracted to those guys. And then why she, as you were saying earlier, why she plays victim and then is sad when the same kind of guy acts the same kind of way as the previous guy. And my advice would be to work on that before seeking anything further. A bit like Bon Jovi shouldn't have been seeking her number, etc. until he
So you wouldn't advise like getting right back on the saddle and like just get over him by getting under him, which is like such a cliche. Never.
Best way to get over a man is to get under another. I don't know. I just feel like that's never gonna heal you long term. It's not gonna help you. In your
I feel like
relationship.
70% of the time is like a double down if you try to get over someone like that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Samantha, what would you tell a friend who is with someone that only gives her what she wants when things in his life are copacetic? Because like she can only get laid with Don or whatever his name is if the Knicks are winning or if like whoever team he supports is winning.
I think that's a difficult one because how old are they in the episode?
Samantha always claims to be in her 30s, but I'm guessing she's in her 40s. And she knows better.
Right, so she's probably at that age where she wants something more serious, someone to settle down with.
Oh, you're gonna have to watch the show.
Yeah.
She thinks she will never. She
Oh,
just
really?
wants all the men. But she is very kind of like she self-serves when it comes to sex, and like she will get. And I think here she tries to insist on like working around Don and his teams because she says the sex was great. But do you think that it's fair that everything needs to be kind of like at ease in his world in order for her to get what she wants?
Definitely not, and the reason why I asked is how old was she, and if she's trying to look for someone to settle down, is that whole idea is that if you're choosing someone that you're going to marry or be with for the rest of your life, then that's someone who's going to be with you at your absolute lowest moments, you know, from the moments where your parents are going to die to the moments you might get fired. You need someone who is there and loves you selflessly and is unselfish in those moments, even if it's a bad day or you hate your boss or whatever. You need someone that is there and available for you and can sacrifice to uplift you in those dark days.
That's a great answer, Archie. Okay, what about Miranda? How would you help maybe a friend navigate the rejection that she went through when she ran into her neighbor at the supermarket? She's like, oh, I feel like I would be like a grown-up and like approach you and tell you like, hey, it's me from across the street. And then he's like, oh, you're the woman that lives right below the guy that I've been cruising.
Yeah.
Like, that was brutal.
Yeah, that was brutal, but that was hilarious. I mean, I really want to watch the show now because there's some really good scenes in there.
Yeah.
But I think that's not necessarily rejection. I mean, bless her, because he's gay, so there's no hard feelings, there's no interest there anyway, so I don't see it as necessarily rejection. I think that is just really bad luck.
Yeah, it's just the way that she was like, fuck, she was so embarrassed and like ran and then scheduled an emergency therapy session with a therapist. I was just like, she feels so, like, such a loser.
I know. Yeah, I mean, we all have those moments, don't we? I've had moments like that where you just want to melt into the ground, you just want to die. It's so embarrassing.
My advice is always like lean into it and just be like, oh my god, of course you're gay, you're gorgeous. Just like say like, I just made a fool of myself, but like poor Miranda, she broke my heart. Okay, finally, what about Charlotte? What would you tell a friend who's a girl that thinks that you need to play games in order to make a relationship work? Although you've sort of covered it, but like she is kind of like the conservative one that thinks that she needs to play like a damsel in distress in order to attract that white knight that's going to come and save her and buy her the house that she's going to live in, because you cannot be financially independent to attract the strong man that you want. What would you tell her? Do you think that a woman, because your mom is very independent, but do you think that a woman that puts so much in a man is maybe setting herself up, and maybe not for failure, but you're definitely not going to hold the reins to your own ending or like happy ending? Have you seen maybe women in your generation not be so much like, oh, I need help because I'm a girl and like I need to play the game of being a damsel in distress? Do you still see that in your generation or not?
Yeah, I think there's increasingly women that want to be totally independent, right? They don't want to ever be in a position where they have to depend on a man or their husband, which in a way I think is quite sad. It shouldn't be about, you know, sex. It shouldn't be a woman depending on a man depending on a woman, because I think that's the way I view it, is that's meant to be your partner. You're meant to be a team. You're meant to do things together, right? So if one person wants to work and one person wants to look after the children or whatever, then I think you kind of work that out. And then in a way, obviously the husband is hugely dependent on his wife to raise the children, look after the children as he would want them to be raised, just the way that she is dependent, that the water is going to keep flowing, the electricity is still going to be on from him going to work.
Okay. Well, that was lovely, Archie. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Any other hot takes from the show that you want to share before we wrap this up?
Not really, no.
Okay, well, I look forward to you watching the show, and like I'm very keen to know what your thoughts are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.